Hi, this is Don Farber with Vineyard Soft Corporation, and I'd like to welcome you to this training session on the KnowledgeSync solution. The topic for this session will be the configuration of an event's actions or workflow, and specifically, this session will address the configuration of an event to send out an alert message via a Twitter tweet message. Please note that this is the fifth of 5 training sessions on the various actions and workflow that a KnowledgeSync event can execute. Now, when you're considering configuring KnowledgeSync to send out Twitter alerts, also known as tweets, you need to consider how many accounts you want KnowledgeSync to be able to send these alerts to. For example, you might want KnowledgeSync to be able to send each user their own alerts via tweet. Thus, you'd need to define a separate Twitter account for each user whom you wish to notify. At the same token, you might prefer to take an approach whereby you set up separate Twitter accounts for each group or category of alerts that are sent. For example, you might wish to configure one Twitter account for sales-related tweets, another Twitter account for accounting-related tweets, and so on. Or you could even get more specific than that, and within the accounting department, configure one Twitter account for accounts receivable related tweets, a separate Twitter account for accounts payable related alerts, and so on. So that choice is up to you. Regardless of how many Twitter accounts you wish to configure, the first step in configuring KnowledgeSync to send alerts via tweet is to go into Twitter and set up the various accounts that KnowledgeSync is going to be using. Once those accounts are set up in Twitter, your next step is to come into the KnowledgeSync Administrator module and set up those individual Twitter accounts for use by KnowledgeSync. So here we are in the KnowledgeSync Administrator, and we have gone first to a branch called Software Setup, and within that branch we're going to choose the option called Twitter Accounts. And you'll notice in our case we have just a single Twitter account configured. For each Twitter account that you do configure in KnowledgeSync, you're able to give that account a description, as well as the appropriate username and password for KnowledgeSync to be able to log into that Twitter account. Also note that you do want to check the active checkbox in the middle of the Twitter account setup window, as that indicates that KnowledgeSync is eligible to send out alerts or tweets using this Twitter account. And so with that, let's exit from this option, and now we're going to jump into the KnowledgeSync Event Manager and discuss how you can configure an event to send out an alert via a Twitter tweet message. And so we're going to continue working in our ERP or accounting application, and we're going to utilize an event that identifies items in inventory that have had their cost increased by an excessive amount. So with that, let's open up this event. Now, just like any alert message that can be sent from a KnowledgeSync event, such as an email message or a fax message or a web dashboard, the information that you can put into those messages, just like a Twitter tweet message, is controlled by virtue of the query that is associated with the event, as the query not only identifies the conditions that you want the event to look for, but the query also identifies those data fields that you can put into your outgoing message, and that includes the Twitter tweet message. Thus, if you find that there are fields of information that you wish to put into a tweet but do not appear from within the event, you'll need to first go into the corresponding query, add those fields to the query's columns, and then you'll be able to utilize those fields in the Twitter tweet message that is created. Now, the configuration of Twitter tweet messages is done via the Actions tab in KnowledgeSync, and within the Actions tab, you'll want to go to the very last sub-tab called simply Twitter Tweet. At the top of this tab, you'll be able to select the particular Twitter account you want KnowledgeSync to be able to post this tweet to. And again, the list that you're going to get here will be drawn directly from the Twitter accounts that you previously set up within the KnowledgeSync Administrator module. Now, in the middle of the Twitter tweet tab, you'll see a list of fields of data. These are the fields of data from the query associated with this event. And these are the fields of data that you can put into the Twitter tweet message that is created and posted. Down at the bottom of the Twitter tweet window, you'll see an area whose title is Contents of the Tweet That Will Be Posted. Now, please do note that the maximum length of a tweet message is just 140 characters. So you do need to keep that tweet message short and succinct. Those 140 characters are counted based upon both the letters as well as blank spaces of all of the text within your tweet message. In our case, as you can see, we're showing the item number, the description of the item, and then simply telling someone that this particular item has had its price increased by a certain percentage. And that's all the information that we're putting into that Twitter tweet message. We do not recommend that you make use of the begin repeat and end repeat commands that are sometimes used in some of the other alert messages in which you have more room for which to put your alert content. Because tweets are limited to no more than 140 characters, again, we do not recommend use of the begin repeat and end repeat commands. And so that's all that you need to do in order to configure a KnowledgeSync event to send out Twitter tweet alert messages or postings. And so we'll click on Save and Close. But before we conclude this training session, one final note. And for that, we're going to jump back into the KnowledgeSync Administrator module. Twitter tweet messages are posted by the KnowledgeSync Action Server. Now, KnowledgeSync runs as a Windows service, but within that Windows service are a number of individual servers for performing different tasks, whether it's the generation and delivery of email messages, the generation of reports, etc. As I mentioned in KnowledgeSync, the generation and deliver of Twitter tweet messages is done by the Action Server in KnowledgeSync. So if you're going to be configuring events that do send out alerts via Twitter, make sure that the Action Server is allowed to process. And that's the one checkbox in the Action Server as you can select from within the KnowledgeSync Administrator module. And so that wraps up this training course on configuring KnowledgeSync events to be able to send out alerts via Twitter tweet postings. I'd like to thank you very much for your time and attention, and I look forward to speaking with you in a future KnowledgeSync training session. Thanks very much.